started when I was 15. My peers were already stressing about getting their first internships, getting the right research opportunities, or becoming president of some obscure club just to get into the right college. Me, on the other hand, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, but reluctantly, I followed the same steps. I put my all into my passion projects, spent long nights and hours trying to balance school, extracurriculars, and even a social life to stay sane. I did everything to the extreme, to not only show others, but also myself that I could tackle any task thrown at me. Then it got to the point where I felt like I was just going through the motions, and I got a little too used to the lack of sleep. It even got to the point where my mental health was starting to deteriorate, and it took more effort to stay motivated throughout high school. Everyone and everything around me had the sole motive of getting into college. In fact, school began to eat away at personal and social time, such that there was no time for anything else. Unfortunately, during this whole process, it really made me wonder, what was all of this worth? But then I got into my dream school, NYU, and I thought to myself, wow, all this hard work actually paid off. All the time that I spent, it meant something. There was value placed in those tireless nights and too many AP classes. I told myself that everyone has to go through this in order to reach college, where they then could explore themselves academically and socially, without the pressures of high school. In my mind, I thought, finally, I can learn purely just to learn, no ulterior motives. But then I realized, once I got to NYU, that things weren't too different from high school. I'm studying business at Stern, and like many other top schools, there's a high emphasis on pre-professionalism, otherwise known as putting a priority on career, and there's high pressures to adapt quickly. All of my peers at the time knew what path that they wanted to take and fell into this type of culture. In a time when we're supposed to be figuring out the type of subjects we want to explore later and making new friends, there was still all this added stress on getting into the right clubs that would set us up with the right internships so that we were set in our future career. This process that I went through throughout high school and I'm currently experiencing now is defined as hustle culture. It is the lifestyle in which career has become such a priority that every other aspect of being human, like hobbies, our family, even self-care, they can often take a backseat. Most students who adopt this type of lifestyle are usually studying medicine, business, law, computer science, really anything where there's a job and a hierarchy to climb. There's a high importance in how much you have going on in your life, such that the amount of work that you do is equated to how successful you'll be in life. It's being obsessed with constantly trying to climb the ladder of success. And unfortunately, I would know because I was once in this state of overworking. Hustle culture has affected my life from a really early stage, but it was supposed to be defined in the context of working individuals. Right now, there are many studies done of working professionals in that a third of them are taking on longer work hours just to stay on a competitive level to their fellow employees. And 75% of those people are saying that that extra work is directly impacting their mental health. This direct correlation between the number of hours working to the stress put on their mental health shows that working for the wrong reasons is leading to long negative impacts. In fact, there's more data that's showing burnout for students who are studying medicine and finance are already facing some form of exhaustion in college. And now it's starting as early as high school. Many of my own fellow friends who are freshmen or sophomores in college are used to a 4 to 5 hour sleep schedule. They've even admitted to facing the occasional all-nighter each week. I also experienced a similar schedule last semester because I was taking on way too many classes and activities thinking that I needed a strong start. But then I was less motivated to go out and I had this constant need to work or else I could be left behind. This mentality caused such a stress on my mental health and I was constantly running on low fuel. After speaking with my peers at the end of the semester and even reflecting myself, I asked, was all this work and lack of sleep worth it? When I asked them this, they usually responded with, "It's fine, it's just what we have to do." I even said the same thing, but now my opinion has changed drastically. While students are being encouraged to be a part of these exclusive clubs in order to stay on a competitive level, there needs to be a balance between your work and your social life. While it is ultimately the student's choice to take on the amount of work and stress that finding internships and being a part of clubs demand, there's still a lot of peer pressure to join these clubs and to figure out what you want to do in your career so early. Students need to be reminded that it's ultimately more important to prioritize your mental health over joining these clubs and finding a balanced lifestyle to be more efficient and productive. So since my spring semester started, I have adopted a different strategy when approaching school. Instead of following the same sleep and study patterns I fell into last semester, I now have a more organized schedule. I made a routine workout plan, and I'm trying really hard to get at least 7 hours of sleep. Now, unfortunately, last semester, though I didn't follow it, I am now seeing the positive impacts of maintaining my health and trying to take care of my own mental health. I feel successful in a different way. I don't feel the need to spread myself thin or constantly keep working or else I would be left behind. And now I feel just as accomplished. The problem with hustle culture is that so many people feel the need to take on so much work so that they can out-hustle others in terms of work success. Luckily, there are some students who are seeing that this culture is damaging and are trying to reject it. Now, there's no one solution to combating hustle culture because it has been so ingrained in our society, but high schools and colleges need to make more of an effort from stopping this culture of manifesting at an early age. There is this tendency to follow pre-professional paths as soon as high school in order to stay on a competitive level. But students need to be taught how to have a healthy work-life balance. For example, some of the most useful advice that I got was from upperclassmen who are also at NYU, who say I have a mix of clubs that are also social alongside pre-professional ones. They say that you need to make room for your mental health and block out time for self-care. There are some clubs at colleges that help students' well-being by holding stress-relieving events or workshops in which learning comes with zero stress or pressure. It's important that students emphasize following these types of clubs alongside pre-professional ones so that you have a more well-rounded and healthier student body. There needs to be a change in students' idea of the metric of success, such that success does not need to be measured by the amount of things you do, but rather the quality you have in the few things that you care about. Schools must advertise leading with intention, such as sticking to one or two things. When I care about a couple things rather than taking on too many tasks at once, I'm not only more productive and efficient, but I also feel like I have a stronger mental health. It's important that we start focusing on fewer activities rather than taking too many at once. It's also important that we move away from hustle culture so that the future generation of workers are more productive rather than inefficient from working too hard and poor mental health of overworking. Ultimately, in my journey navigating college, I have seen much benefit in an equal balance of work and social life, in which it's greatly contributing to my well-being. Even now, I still have to resist the urge to conforming to hustle culture because so many of my peers take part in it. And once you're in it, it is really hard to get out of it. But there needs to be a change to this glorification of a full schedule. When we place pressure on students to be professional at such an early stage in life, it creates urgency to get everything done at once. Ultimately, it's up to the universities and high schools to stop praising the amount of work that students are taking on, but rather tell them to focus on few things and to focus on maintaining that healthy work-life balance. It's time to transition to a movement that rejects hustle culture and prioritize students' mental health. Thank you so much for listening.